All right, let's just dive right into a massive, frankly maddening mystery in the DIY and off-grid solar world. Why does perfectly good equipment suddenly just die? Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're cracking open a very specific, incredibly frustrating phenomenon that happens when you mix welding equipment with low-voltage inverter systems. We're going to skip the generic advice and get right down to the invisible electrical physics that are, in all likelihood, wreaking havoc on your gear. So have you ever seen an inverter fail completely out of the blue? It's a scenario playing out in garages and off-grid workshops literally all the time. You check the specs, right? The wattage is well within your inverter's surge rating, everything looks like it should work flawlessly on paper. But then, smack in the middle of a project, your inverter just blows up, or shuts down for good, while you're welding. Why on earth does that happen when the math seemingly told you it was totally safe?
Now, if you poke around online, you'll see a lot of really simple explanations. Most channels point the finger at cheap gear, or they throw around vague terms like generic arc spikes, or they just tell you that long cables reduce performance. But today, we're looking at what the actual physics says. The real culprits here are cable inductance and transient voltage spikes. We aren't just going to talk about what fails, we are going to look under the hood at exactly why it fails electrically. Part 1. The prime suspect, inductance. To find the root of our problem, we have to look really closely at the very wires connecting your system.
There's a great saying out there that welding cables are not just pieces of copper, and that hits the nail on the head. When we're dealing with high-current DC systems, we have to stop thinking of wires as just dumb pipes carrying electricity from point A to point B. They actually have their own complex, dynamic behaviors that wake up under certain conditions.
And that behavior? That's called inductance. Picture this, as hundreds of amps flow through those long welding leads, a swelling magnetic field starts forming all around them. This field is literally storing massive amounts of energy. The longer your cable and the higher the current, the more energy gets packed into this invisible magnetic bubble surrounding your wires.
Which brings us to part 2, the weapon, fast shut-off physics. Now, the crucial point isn't actually when you're welding smoothly. The peak danger is the exact split second when the arc suddenly breaks. First things first, the current collapses. The very moment you stop welding, or maybe your electrode sticks and then releases, or even if your protection circuitry suddenly trips, the current tries to just instantly stop. The physical path for the electricity literally disappears. That current is collapsing in a flash. But remember that magnetic field we just talked about? Well, inductance absolutely resists change. That magnetic field acts exactly like a heavily loaded mechanical spring. When the current tries to stop, the field collapses back into the wire and violently pushes to keep that current flowing. It flat out refuses to let the electrical flow drop to zero gracefully. So with nowhere for that current to go because the arc is broken, the energy forces the voltage to skyrocket. It is desperately searching for a discharge path. Even if you're running a relatively low voltage system, this inductive kickback can create a transient spike that shoots far above your system's normal operating limits. Now let's take a quick look at the math behind that spike. Don't let the formula intimidate you because it tells a beautifully clear story. V is our induced voltage spike. L is the inductance of your cables. And that dI over dt part, that's just the rate of current change. Because an arc breaks almost instantly, that rate of change is a remarkably massive number. Basically, the faster the current shuts off, the more massive the resulting transient voltage spike becomes. And it gets crazier because the danger doesn't just scale in a straight line. When we look at the formula for the stored magnetic energy, E, we see that it equals 1/2 times the inductance times the current squared. You see that little square symbol right next to the I for current? Yeah, that is hands down the most dangerous part of this entire equation.
This right here is a huge aha moment for a lot of system builders. Because the current is squared in that energy formula, doubling your welding current doesn't just double the stress on your system, no, it quadruples the stored inductive energy waiting to snap back. That means even small increases in your welding amps create dangerously massive increases in the energy your inverter is going to have to absorb when that arc stops.
Moving on to part 3, hidden dangers and collateral damage. We know the energy is there and we know it spikes when the arc breaks, so where does all that explosive electrical pressure actually end up?
Well, it forces its way right into your most sensitive electronics. We're talking degraded MOSFETs, IGBTs, DC bus capacitors, gate drivers, output filters, the whole shebang. And what makes this so insidious is that it's often a silent killer. These transient spikes slowly, quietly degrade those semiconductor junctions over time.
So your inverter might seem totally fine for weeks or months, just absorbing these invisible punches before it finally gives out on a random Tuesday. This delayed damage makes transient problems incredibly difficult to diagnose.
Oh, and a quick, absolutely critical safety warning here if you're the type who likes to measure this stuff. Trying to measure these spikes with standard earth-ground oscilloscope probes can literally cause your test equipment to go up in smoke. Seriously, many scopes reference the probe ground to earth ground. If you connect that to a floating welding output, you can instantly short the inverter outputs, destroy your gear, and create a very real shock hazard. Always use proper isolation methods or differential probes. All right, PSA over.
Okay, part 4. The defense, system protection. Take a breath. Fortunately, understanding the physics here means we don't have to just cross our fingers and hope for the best. We can actually engineer a really solid defense for your expensive off-grid gear.
The very first major line of defense comes down to something as simple as how you lay your cables on the floor. Beware the loop area. If your positive and negative welding cables are spread widely apart from each other, the magnetic loop area increases, and that directly and drastically increases the destructive inductance we've been talking about all along. It's a major wiring detail, yet it's almost always ignored in DIY setups.
So here's your game plan. Step 1, keep your leads as short as practically possible to minimize the overall magnetic field. Simple enough, right? Step 2, route your positive and negative cables right next to each other. By bringing them together, their opposing magnetic fields actually help cancel each other out. This shrinks that loop area and drastically lowers your risk of transient spikes. And finally, step 3, maintain tight, low-resistance connections just to prevent arc flashes and melted terminals.
Now, while we've been super focused on inductance today, we definitely can't ignore basic resistance. Undersized long leads also caused excessive heat, that's your P=I²R formula at work, and they cause serious voltage drop. This resistive loss can actually destabilize your welding arc, which in turn causes more sudden arc breaks, which, you guessed it, triggers more of those nasty inductive voltage spikes. It's a vicious cycle that just heaps more stress onto your inverter.
We have covered a lot of ground today, moving from the common myths of inverter failure straight into the mathematical heart of magnetic energy storage. But now it's time to look at your own gear. Seriously, go take a hard look at your garage or off-grid system right now. What cable lengths and inverter sizes are running in your setup? Are your positive and negative leads neatly bundled together, or are they sprawling across the shop floor, secretly acting as an invisible villain just waiting to strike the moment you break your arc? Keep that loop area in mind the next time you power up. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.